What's going on, YouTube fam? This is your boy J Money here, and as you can see, there's a new setup behind me, and that's why I haven't been recording in a good bit, because of all the moving I've been doing, and there's still stuff to be set up. So anyway, on to another topic, and that is I'm a part of the World Challenge Duelist page and all that. A lot of people have been talking about Lib, the World Keymaster, or the World Keyblade Master, and how fantastic it is and stuff. And some people that are even not a part of the group may think the same thing, but this is what this video is going to be about, and that is Lib is not Ib. Lib the World Keymaster it's a good card, but it's not Ib. The World Challenge Justice here. That is the main issue. They seem to do similar things. Very, very similar, but they are also very, very different at the same time. Now, already before you guys, ask me about let's say World Challenge deck profiles and other things like that, I do have a combo video up and coming and later on this week and all that I just got done doing. So you will get your fill of combos and all that good stuff later. But anyway, on to the topic at hand. Before I can really go into why they're so different, first off, let's try and compare the two. First off, if the World Challenge Justice here, clearly banned, and it's a generic level 5 synchro, but you can also use World Challenge normal monsters to supplement the tuner slot, which is actually pretty good for a World Challenge deck. It means you don't have to go out of your way to play tuners, you just play the deck normally and you just make it. So there's that one. And when Ib is synchro summoned, you can add a World Legacy card from deck to hand. Kind of similar to another counterpart there. And if the synchro summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a World Challenge monster from your deck. Sounds pretty simple. Now let's go ahead and look at Lib, the World Keyblade Master. That's a light Cybers this time. It's not a water spellcaster like any of the other Ibs. And it's got about 2,000 attack. It's got a like downward left and a straight left pointy arrow. So awkward arrows, but pretty good for like co-linking and stuff too. But it's fine. First, it's completely generic, which sounds good, but you can only summon the card if you control a World Legacy card in your graveyard. So right off the bat, there is a nasty summoning restriction. Okay, the restriction being that you are essentially locked into World Legacy based archetypes and all that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to resolve that card or even summon it, because unlike Lib, it seems like it's generic, but because you have to have World Legacy cards in your graveyard to even summon it in the first place, that kind of makes it not very generic. So it's not very applicable in many different strategies right off the bat. Its effect doesn't activate when summoned. It's a trigger effect to set a World Legacy card from your deck. So right off the bat, right there, also means you can't really chain block Lib, because I prefer things to activate on summon, because you can stack your chains and potentially protect things like Lib from certain forms of disruption. So that's the second thing right there. Thirdly, the World Legacy card that you set, you cannot activate it that turn unless you control a World Legacy monster in your graveyard. So, even further restricting, being you not only have to have a World Legacy card in your graveyard, so if you were thinking about cheating this out with things like World Legacy Succession or World Legacy Guard Dragon, if you're playing like Dragon Link or something, you still can't activate the card right away unless, well, you have a World Legacy monster in your graveyard. So it's easy for decks like Orcus that play World 1 World Chalice for World Legacy, World Chalice, and things like that. And when the linked summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can spin a card from your opponent's field back into the deck. So that seems pretty good. Seems like a good payoff. So let's compare these two. Why are they so different? So, like I said, one is not generic. Well, one is completely generic, but you can only have a World Legacy card in your graveyard before you can even think about summoning the card. Which means, in terms of starting plays, it's impossible. There's no real way to, use it as a starter. And that is one key big difference between Lib and Ib. Ib is a starter card. Ib, in a very simplified game state, can get you somewhere. It's a starter. It gets you places. It gets you a card advantage right away. It's not as restrictive and things like that. And then when it leaves the field, it gives you a monster. So, Lib takes a monster away or takes a card away, and Ib gives you a card. So they both have a kind of yin and yang going with it, but I'd rather me get a card than take a card from my opponent away. I'm always about card advantage and all that stuff. I'm always about advancing my own game state and all that. So Ib, even in a simplified game state, cannot just start plays, but it can also essentially create something when you have little, whereas Lib isn't really the case. And I think the biggest hindrance with Lib is because you have to have World Legacy cards in your graveyard to summon it, because you have to have a World Legacy monster to activate whatever World Legacy card you are going to set. Lib is a card that is only good if you're already playing the game. And that's a big deal. Ib you can access at any time. You can use her effects at any time. And regardless if you're going first or second, her graveyard effect is alive. So Lib, you may link into a Lib, set a World Legacy card, and maybe use her as link material and whatnot. But however, if you are going first, that the effect to take a card from your opponent doesn't really do anything for you going first. And granted, going second it does, but again, to even get to the Lib, you have to already successfully be playing the game, So imagine you're going second versus a deck like, Eldritch or Pendulums or Orcus or just, Invoke Shadalls. Like, imagine going second against decks like that, Resolving a Lib in general is going to be very difficult, extremely difficult. Whereas Ib, like I said, at any time you could access it. With Lib, you have to go through hoops and all that to even summon it in the first place. And I guess that's a kind of gripe I have with the card. And the card needs to stay link summoned. It needs to stay on field and go to the grave for its effect to spin a card back. So even if I wanted to try to cheat its effect by linking it off and bringing it back later with like a succession I set and summon it back before I end my turn, that's not really going to do me much good because it can only shuffle a card back when it was link summoned and sent to the graveyard. So yeah, guys, they're two different things. Lib is only good if you're playing. Ib is a starter. Ib is good and accessible at any and all points of the game. It gets you a card immediately regardless of what kind of other prior setup you had. And it gives you a monster. It gives you a Guard Dragon for you Dragon Link players. It gives you Lee for your World Chalice players. It's just an all-around good card. And it was a tuner monster, so you could further synchro up into things like Warlord Savage. You can make Crystal Fiber with it. It was great. Now, Lib, like I had alluded to in the very first video where I did talk about Ib, Ib, the World Chalice Justice should have been a Link monster. Lib is a Link monster, which is nice. Now, if Lib had the same effects as Ib did, and the form of Link 2, man, we'd be talking. But that's besides the point. But like I said, Lib, only good if you're already playing the game. All of its effects are really only useful if you're going second, being the spin back effect. So it doesn't give you a card, it takes a card away. So in its simplified game state, it's not really the best. And yeah, again, you set a World Legacy card from your deck. So when it comes to things like World Legacy Monstrosity being a quick play spell, you still, even if you have a World Legacy monster in your graveyard, you cannot activate the card because you set a quick play spell from your deck. And you know, quick play spells are treated like trap cards the moment they are set to the field. That is another problem. Ib adds the card to the hand. Lib sets it. So cards like Monstrosity for Calamity's plays is impossible that turn for a card like Lib because it sets it, not adds it to hand. Now there is a benefit to that, meaning it gets around Ash Blossom. So I won't knock Lib for that one, but the fact that you can't add Monstrosity and activate it for 2 level 9s for VFD, that's kind of a bummer, man. But anyway, I've done enough of bashing on Lib. I'm not saying Lib is a bad card. It's a good card. You know, it's pretty solid for what it does, but you know, again, you already have to be playing the game for this card to really be doing much. And if you're getting interrupted left and right, you're going to find it very hard to not just summon this card, but resolve the cards in general. And, you know, going first, it isn't like the greatest unless you're almost playing uninterrupted. So that's my 2 cents, guys. Like I said, Lib is not Ib. It's a good card, but it's not Ib. It's not a great card like Ib was. So, but it's still going to be a card that's going to see play, especially World Legacy archetypes nonetheless. So, guys, let me know what you guys' thoughts are down in the comments below. And talk to you guys in the comments. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. This is J Money, and I am signing out.